Captain Jake Mitchell walked slowly down the long corridor. The walls around him glowed with strange blue light. He had never seen anything like this place before. The Galactic Council station was bigger than any human city. It floated in space, near a distant planet, spinning slowly like a giant wheel. Jake wore his best uniform. The dark blue fabric felt stiff against his skin. Behind him walked Dr. Lisa Parker and Commander Rick Thompson. Lisa carried a small device that helped her understand alien languages. Rick kept his hand near his weapon, though he knew it would be useless here. The corridor ended at massive doors. They opened without sound. Beyond them lay a huge chamber filled with creatures that Jake had only seen in pictures. His heart beat faster as he stepped inside. The chamber was round and tall. Light came from everywhere and nowhere. In the center stood 3 different types of aliens. Jake had studied them during the long journey here, but seeing them in person made his mouth go dry. The first group looked like living glass. They were tall and thin, with bodies that seemed to be made of clear crystal. Light moved through them in patterns. These were the Zephyrians. Their leader was called Veltar. It stood 9 feet tall, and its voice sounded like music when it spoke. The second group looked like giant insects. They had 6 legs and 4 arms. Their skin was black and shiny like metal. These were the Hive Queens from Arcturus. They never spoke with voices. Instead, they made clicking sounds with their mouths and moved their arms in patterns. The third group was the strangest of all. They looked like clouds of gas that had learned to think. They floated in the air and changed shape constantly. Sometimes they looked almost human. Other times they looked like storms. These were called the Drift. Veltar stepped forward. When it moved, its crystal body made tiny ringing sounds. "Welcome, humans," it said. Its voice filled the entire chamber. "We are the Galactic Council. We have ruled this galaxy for 1 million of your years." Jake tried to keep his voice steady. "I am Captain Jake Mitchell. I speak for the human race." "We know who you are," Veltar replied. "We know everything about your species. You are young. You are weak. You have spread to only a few worlds. But you are not the first young race we have met." Lisa stepped closer to Jake. She whispered, "The translation device is picking up emotions. They are not being friendly." One of the Hive Queens moved forward. It clicked its mouth parts and waved its arms. Lisa looked at her device. "It says humans are like children playing with fire." Jake felt anger rise in his chest, but he forced himself to stay calm. "What do you want from us?" Veltar's crystal body began to glow brighter. "We offer you a gift. We offer you protection. We offer you survival." The drift creatures moved closer. They swirled around each other like smoke. When they spoke, their voices seemed to come from inside Jake's head. "Many species have accepted our offer. They live in peace. They live in safety. They live forever." "What kind of offer?" Rick asked. His hand moved closer to his weapon. Veltar made a sound like breaking glass. Jake realized it was laughing. "You will give us control of your military. You will give us control of your colonies. You will give us control of your future. In return, we will protect you from danger. We will give you technology beyond your dreams. We will make sure humans never go extinct." Jake felt his heart sink. "You want us to surrender. We want you to grow up." One of the Hive Queens clicked. "Children cannot take care of themselves." Lisa looked at her device again. She turned pale. "Captain, they are talking about something else. Something they are not saying out loud." "What is it?" Jake asked. "They have made this offer to 847 other species. All of them said yes." Jake stared at the aliens. What happened to the species that said no? The chamber became very quiet. The drift creatures stopped moving. The Hive Queen stood perfectly still. Only Veltar moved, and its crystal body began to pulse with red light. "There are no species that said no," Veltar said slowly. All intelligent life accepts protection when it is offered. Rick stepped forward. That is not an answer. Another hive queen began clicking rapidly. Lisa listened to her device. Her face went white. Captain, we need to leave. Now. What did it say? Jake demanded. It said that stupid children who play with fire always burn themselves. Veltar raised one of its long crystal arms. You have 72 of your hours to decide. Return here with your answer. Choose protection, or choose to learn why no species has ever refused our offer. The aliens began to move away. The meeting was over. Jake wanted to ask more questions, but Rick grabbed his arm. We are leaving, Rick said firmly. They walked quickly back down the corridor. Jake's mind raced with questions. Behind them, he could hear the aliens making sounds. The hive queens were clicking loudly. The drift creatures were humming. Veltar's crystal body was ringing like broken bells. On the shuttle back to their ship, Lisa finally spoke. Captain, I think we are in serious trouble. Why? Jake asked, though he already knew the answer. Because I do not think they were offering U.S. protection. I think they were threatening us. Rick checked the shuttle's weapon systems. How many ships do they have? According to their broadcasts, they control most of the galaxy. They have technology we cannot even understand. If we fight them, we will lose. Jake stared out the window at the council station. It was beautiful and terrible at the same time. Somewhere inside, 3 alien species were deciding the fate of humanity. But Jake already knew what his answer would be. We cannot surrender, he said quietly. Humans do not surrender, even if it means we all die. Lisa asked. Jake thought about Earth. He thought about the colonies on Mars and Europa. He thought about human children who had never seen an alien before. Then he thought about those same children living as slaves to creatures they could never understand. Especially if it means we all die, Jake replied. The shuttle flew toward their ship. Behind them, the council station grew smaller, but Jake knew they would be back in 72 hours. And when they returned, they would bring an answer that would change everything. Earth had never seen a meeting like this one. In the United Nations building, leaders from every country sat around a huge table. President Elena Rodriguez looked tired. She had not slept since Captain Mitchell's message arrived. They want complete surrender, Elena said to the room. They want our military, our colonies, and our freedom. Admiral Kyle Santos stood up. He was a big man with gray hair and serious eyes. Madam President, we have to fight. Humans have never backed down from bullies. Dr. Lisa Parker shook her head. Admiral, you do not understand what we are facing. Their technology is thousands of years ahead of ours. One of their ships could destroy our entire fleet. Then what do you suggest? Asked General Pete Davis. That we just give up? The room erupted in arguments. Some leaders wanted to surrender. Others wanted to fight. A few suggested trying to run away to distant stars. But Elena knew that none of these choices would save humanity. After 6 hours of debate, the vote was unanimous. Every single leader chose the same thing. They would not surrender their freedom. 3 days later, Commander Rick Thompson stood in the same chamber where they had first met the council. This time, he was alone. The aliens waited for him in the center of the room. What is humanity's answer? Veltar asked. Its crystal body glowed with white light. Rick straightened his shoulders. Humanity rejects your offer. We choose freedom. The chamber became dead silent. For the first time, Rick saw something like surprise in the aliens' movements. The hive queens began clicking frantically. The drift creatures swirled faster and faster. Veltar's body began to glow red. You are making a mistake. Maybe, Rick said, but it is our mistake to make. Veltar raised its arms high above its head. So be it. Let the galaxy see what happens to children who refuse to grow up. Rick was escorted back to his shuttle. As he flew away from the council station, he saw something that made his blood turn cold. Hundreds of alien ships were gathering around the station. They came in all shapes and sizes. Some looked like living creatures. Others looked like machines. A few looked like moving storms. Within 6 hours, the first council ships reached Earth's solar system. They came through hyperspace in a flash of light that could be seen from Mars. Admiral Santos watched from the bridge of his flagship as alien vessels appeared everywhere. "How many?" he asked his sensor officer, Lieutenant Amy Brooks. Checked her screens twice before answering. 3,000 ships, sir. Maybe more. They are still arriving. Santos felt his heart sink. Humanity's entire space fleet had only 30 ships. What about their technology levels? "Sir, our computers cannot even identify most of their weapons. The energy readings are off the charts." On Mars, Dr. Nathan Cole was working in his laboratory when the attack began. He was studying rock samples when the ground started shaking. Through his window, he saw lights falling from the sky like deadly rain. The first alien ships to land were not like the ones at the council station. These were war machines. They looked like giant metal spiders with glowing red eyes. They moved across the Martian surface, destroying everything in their path. Nathan grabbed his emergency radio. "This is Outpost 7 to Earth Command. Mars is under attack. Repeat, Mars is under attack." The response came back filled with static. "Outpost 7, Earth is also under attack. All colonies are reporting the same thing." Nathan looked out his window again. The spider machines were getting closer. He could see human soldiers trying to fight them with rifles and rockets. The weapons bounced off the alien machines like raindrops. Back in Earth orbit, Admiral Santos made a desperate decision. "All ships, attack formation. Target the largest enemy vessel." The human fleet moved forward. Their ships were small and simple compared to the alien vessels, but they moved with purpose and courage. The first battle lasted exactly 14 minutes. When it was over, 12 human ships were nothing but burning wreckage. The alien fleet had not lost a single vessel. "Sir," Lieutenant Brooks reported with a shaking voice, "enemy shields held at 100%. Our weapons did no damage at all." Santos stared at the tactical display. Red dots showed the positions of enemy ships. They surrounded Earth like a deadly net. Blue dots showed human ships. There were not many blue dots left. On Europa, Chief Engineer Samantha Bell received orders to evacuate the ice mining station, but the evacuation ships never came. Instead, alien machines landed on the frozen surface. These machines were different from the ones on Mars. They looked like giant drills made of living metal. They began cutting through the ice, heading straight for the mining tunnels where 3,000 humans lived and worked. Samantha gathered the miners in the main cavern. "The aliens are coming down the tunnels," she told them. "We cannot outrun them. We cannot fight them with mining tools." "Then what do we do?" asked one of the miners. Samantha looked around at the faces staring back at her. These were not soldiers. They were ordinary people who had come to Europa to work and build a better life. Now they faced death from creatures beyond their understanding. "We do what humans do best," she said. "We survive." On Earth, the alien blockade was complete. No ships could leave the planet. No messages could get through to the colonies. The Council had cut humanity off from the rest of the galaxy. President Rodriguez stood on the balcony of the White House. Looking up at the night sky, she could see alien ships moving between the stars like new constellations. Each ship carried enough firepower to destroy a city. "Madam President," her aide said behind her. "The alien commander is requesting a meeting." Alina turned around. "Here on Earth?" "No, ma'am. They want you to come to their command ship." Alina thought about Captain Mitchell and his crew. They were still on their ship somewhere in the blockade. They had delivered humanity's answer to the Council. Now they were trapped like everyone else. "Tell them I will come," Alina said. "But I want to bring my own people." An hour later, Alina sat in a shuttle heading toward the largest alien ship she had ever seen. It was shaped like a massive crystal, spinning slowly in space. Light pulsed through its walls like a heartbeat. Dr. Marcus Green sat beside her. He was humanity's best expert on alien technology. If anyone could understand what they were facing, it was Marcus. "What do you think they want?" Alina asked. Marcus looked out the window at the alien ship. "I think they want to show us how hopeless our situation is. I think they want us to surrender." The shuttle docked with the alien ship. Alina and Marcus were led through corridors that seemed to be grown rather than built. Everything was smooth and organic, like the inside of a seashell. They were brought to a chamber where Veltar waited. The alien's crystal body pulsed with angry red light. "You see what resistance brings," Veltar said without greeting them. "Your colonies burn. Your ships are destroyed. Your people die. This could all stop with one word." Alina stepped forward. "What word is that?" "Surrender." Alina looked around the chamber. The walls showed images of human colonies under attack. Mars burned. Europa was being drilled apart. Titan was covered in alien machines. "And if we surrender," Alina asked, "your people live. They serve. They learn their place in the galaxy." Dr. Green spoke up. "What about our freedom?" Veltar made its laughing sound again. "Freedom is an illusion. Order is reality. The Council brings order to chaos." Alina watched the images of destruction on the walls. She saw human soldiers dying. She saw cities burning. She saw children running in terror. But she also saw something else. She saw humans fighting back. On Mars, soldiers were using broken alien machines as cover. On Europa, miners were collapsing tunnels to slow the alien advance. On every world, humans refused to give up. "I need time to think," Alina said. "Time is what your people do not have," Veltar replied. "Every hour you delay, more of them die." Alina and Marcus were escorted back to their shuttle. As they flew back to Earth, Marcus stared at the alien fleet surrounding their planet. "They are right about one thing," he said quietly. "We cannot win a direct fight." Alina nodded. "But maybe we do not need to win a direct fight." "What do you mean?" Alina thought about the images she had seen. Humans dying, yes, but also humans adapting. Humans finding new ways to survive. Humans refusing to quit, even when everything seemed hopeless. "Maybe we need to fight a different kind of war," she said. The shuttle approached Earth. Behind them, the alien command ship pulsed with deadly light. Around them, 3,000 enemy vessels waited for humanity's final answer. But Alina Rodriguez was no longer thinking about surrender. She was thinking about something the aliens did not understand. She was thinking about the human spirit. Lieutenant Frank Morrison crouched behind a pile of ice rocks on Europa. His breath came out in white clouds in the cold air. Around him, 23 miners held weapons they had made from mining tools. They were about to do something completely insane. "Remember," Frank whispered to the group, "we are not trying to win. We are trying to confuse them." The alien drill machines were 50 meters away. They moved in perfect formation, cutting through the ice with mathematical precision. Their movements followed exact patterns that never changed. "On my mark," Frank said. 3, 2, 1, go. The humans charged, but they did not charge in a straight line like soldiers would. Instead, they ran in random directions. Some went left, some went right. Others ran in circles. A few miners even ran backward while shooting. The alien machines stopped. For the first time since the attack began, they seemed uncertain. Their targeting systems could not predict where the humans would go next. Frank dove behind another ice pile as laser beams shot over his head. "It is working," he called out. "They cannot figure us out." On Mars, Dr. Nathan Cole was making an important discovery in his damaged laboratory. He had found pieces of destroyed alien machines and was studying them with whatever equipment still worked. "This does not make sense," he said to himself. as he looked at the alien technology. The machines were incredibly advanced, but they all followed the same basic design. Every decision was based on logic and efficiency. Nathan picked up a piece of alien metal. It was stronger than anything humans had ever made. But when he hit it with a hammer in exactly the right spot, it cracked. "Computer," he said to his laboratory system, "run a chaos analysis on the alien attack patterns." The computer worked for several minutes before displaying its results. All enemy movements follow optimal tactical doctrine. No variation detected. No random elements found. Nathan smiled for the first time in days. That is their weakness. He opened a communication channel to any human forces that could hear him. "This is Dr. Nathan Cole, to all resistance units. I have discovered something important about our enemies." On Earth, Captain Jake Mitchell received Nathan's message while hiding in an abandoned subway tunnel. His ship had been destroyed in the first day of fighting. Now he led a small group of survivors through the underground passages of New York City. "What did you find, Doctor?" Jake asked into his radio. "The aliens think like machines," Nathan replied. "Everything they do is logical and predictable, but humans are not logical. We do random things that make no sense." Captain Jenny Walsh, who was listening from a damaged space station, laughed bitterly. "Great. Our stupidity is our only advantage." "No," Nathan said seriously. "Our creativity is our advantage, our ability to do unexpected things. The aliens cannot predict chaos." Jenny looked around her ruined station. She had 17 crew members left out of 200. Their weapons were broken. Their ship was too damaged to fly. By any logical measure, they should surrender. But Jenny was not feeling logical. She was feeling angry. "Computer," she said, "plot a collision course with that alien command ship." Her navigation officer, Lieutenant Carlos Martinez, stared at her. "Captain, that would be suicide." "Yes, it would," Jenny agreed, "which is exactly why they will not expect it." On Earth, President Rodriguez was trying to coordinate the resistance from a bunker deep underground. Every report she received was bad news. The aliens controlled the sky. They controlled the space around Earth. They were systematically destroying every human military facility. But then she started receiving strange reports from her field commanders. "Madam President," General Davis reported from the ruins of Denver, "something weird is happening. Every time our forces do something random and stupid, the alien attack slows down." "What do you mean by random and stupid?" Alina asked. "Well, yesterday, Lieutenant Susan Parker led her squad in a charge against alien tanks while singing the national anthem. The aliens stopped shooting for almost 10 minutes. Alina frowned. "Why would they stop?" "We think they were trying to understand why humans would sing while attacking heavily armed vehicles." Similar reports came in from around the world. In Tokyo, soldiers were throwing rocks at alien aircraft and actually hitting them because the aliens could not believe anyone would use such primitive weapons. In London, civilians were confusing alien patrols by walking their dogs in the middle of battles. Dr. Marcus Green was studying all these reports in his underground laboratory. He had been trying to understand alien technology for days without success. But now, he was starting to understand something more important. "The aliens do not understand us," he told Alina during their evening briefing. "They have studied human tactics and technology, but they have never studied human nature." "What is the difference?" Alina asked. "Human nature is irrational. We make decisions based on emotions, not logic. We do things that do not make sense, and that terrifies them." Meanwhile, Captain Jenny Walsh was preparing for her final mission. Her damaged station was falling toward the alien command ship. She had sent most of her crew away in escape pods, but she stayed behind with 5 volunteers. "Captain," said Chief Engineer Mike Chen, "the aliens are hailing us." "Put them through," Jenny said. Veltar's crystal form appeared on the main screen. "Human vessel, change course immediately. You are on a collision path. Jenny smiled. I know. This action serves no tactical purpose. You cannot damage our shields with your primitive vessel. You are probably right, Jenny agreed. But I am not trying to damage your shields. Then what are you trying to accomplish? Jenny looked at her crew. They were scared, but they were also determined. They understood what she was doing even if the aliens did not. I am trying to show you something, Jenny said. I am trying to show you what humans are really like. She cut the communication and turned to her crew. Computer, prepare to broadcast on all frequencies. What are we broadcasting, Captain? Asked Mike. Jenny thought for a moment, then she smiled. Everything. Broadcast everything we have about human culture, music, art, literature, history. Show them who we really are. The station continued falling toward the alien ship. As it fell, it transmitted the entire human cultural database. Songs from every nation on Earth, paintings from every time period, stories and poems and jokes and dreams. The aliens had never experienced anything like it. Their computers tried to analyze the data, but how do you analyze a love song? How do you calculate the logic of a poem? How do you predict the outcome of a joke? The data overload caused problems throughout the alien fleet. Ships stopped moving. Attack patterns broke down. For the first time in their history, the Council's perfect order was disrupted by pure human chaos. Jenny's station crashed into the alien command ship. The explosion was small compared to the size of the massive vessel, but the psychological impact was enormous. Veltar stood in its damaged control room, staring at screens filled with human art and music. What is this? It asked its subordinates. We do not know, replied another Zephyrian. Our computers cannot classify it. It serves no logical purpose. On Europa, Frank Morrison's guerrilla fighters had taken control of 3 mining tunnels. They were using tactics that made no sense to the alien machines. When the machines expected humans to retreat, the humans advanced. When logic said they should advance, they retreated. Sometimes they did both at the same time. This is insane, said one of the miners, a woman named Kelly Brooks. We are fighting giant robots, with pickaxes and explosives. Yes, Frank agreed, and it is working. The alien machines had stopped their systematic advance. They were sending confused reports to their commanders. The humans were not following any known tactical doctrine. They were not even trying to win in any conventional sense. They were just being human. Back on Earth, Dr. Nathan Cole was working on a new project. He had studied enough alien technology to understand their basic operating principles. Everything they did was based on prediction and optimization. Computer, design a weapon that operates on random principles, he commanded. Error, the computer replied. Random operation contradicts weapon efficiency. Nathan laughed. Exactly. Make it as inefficient and unpredictable as possible. On Mars, Chief Engineer Samantha Bell was organizing the human survivors into what she called chaos units. Their job was not to defeat the aliens, but to confuse them so badly that their tactical computers crashed. Remember, she told her people, think like humans, not like soldiers. Do things that make no sense. Be creative, be stupid, be random. The aliens had conquered 847 species, but they had never faced anything like this. Every species they had defeated thought logically. They optimized for survival and efficiency. They followed predictable patterns. But humans were chaos, given form. They made decisions based on emotion and instinct. They did things that had no logical purpose, except that it felt right, and for the first time in 1,000,000 years, the Galactic Council was afraid. The alien fleet was in chaos. After Captain Jenny Walsh's cultural broadcast, strange things began happening throughout Council space. On the command ship, Veltar watched as its perfect order fell apart. Report, Veltar demanded from its subordinates. Sir. 17 ships have stopped responding to commands, reported a junior Zephyrian. Their crews are experiencing what they call confusion. Confusion does not exist, Veltar stated firmly. There is only efficient action and inefficient action. Yes, sir. But the crews are asking questions they have never asked before. They want to know why they follow orders. They want to know what happens if they refuse. Veltar's crystal body flickered with angry red light. These concepts should not exist in council minds. Individual thought had been eliminated millions of years ago. On Earth, Captain Jake Mitchell was no longer hiding in subway tunnels. President Rodriguez had given him command of all remaining human forces. It was not much, a few thousand soldiers, some damaged ships, and whatever weapons they could salvage from alien wrecks. But Jake had learned something important from Dr. Nathan Cole's research. Human weapons might be primitive, but human tactics could be devastating. All units, this is Captain Mitchell. He spoke into his radio. Operation Longshot is now active. Remember, we are not trying to win by destroying their ships. We are trying to win by breaking their minds. Commander Alex Turner led the first strike team. His target was the alien forces on Mars, but instead of attacking the main alien base, he did something completely unexpected. Team Alpha, we are going to rescue Dr. Nathan Cole, Alex announced. But we are going to do it by walking through the front door and asking politely. His soldiers stared at him. Sir, that makes no sense. Exactly, Alex smiled. That is why it will work. The strike team approached the alien base without stealth or weapons drawn. They walked right up to the main entrance and knocked on the door. When alien guards appeared, Alex spoke calmly. Hello, we are here to pick up our scientist, Dr. Nathan Cole. Is he ready to go? The alien machines were completely confused. Their programming had no instructions for handling polite visitors during a war. They contacted their commanders, who contacted their commanders, who eventually reached the Council fleet in orbit. While the aliens tried to figure out what to do, Alex's team walked into the base, found Nathan, and walked back out. The entire rescue took 20 minutes, and not a single shot was fired. How did that work? Nathan asked, as they drove away. Because they think like computers, Alex explained. Computers crash when they encounter situations they cannot process. Major Karen Foster was leading similar operations across the solar system. Her specialty was not military tactics, but psychology. She had spent years studying alien behavior, and now she was putting that knowledge to use. On Europa, she made contact with Lieutenant Frank Morrison's guerrilla fighters. Frank, I need you to try something new. What kind of something? Frank asked, from his hiding place in the ice tunnels. I want you to surrender. Frank nearly dropped his radio. Are you insane? Trust me. But when you surrender, I want you to do it in the most human way possible. An hour later, Frank and his fighters walked out of their tunnels with their hands raised. But they were also singing. It was an old Earth song called We Are the Champions. They sang it loudly and proudly, while waving white flags made from mining equipment. The alien machines did not know how to respond. Their programming said that surrendering enemies should be taken prisoner, but their programming did not account for prisoners who sang victory songs while giving up. The machines contacted their commanders. The commanders contacted the fleet. Soon, half the council forces in the system were trying to understand why humans would celebrate while surrendering. While the aliens were distracted, Karen's real plan went into action. Teams of human engineers snuck into alien facilities and began what Dr. Nathan Cole called aggressive recalibration. Basically, Nathan explained to anyone who would listen. We hit their machines with hammers until they worked differently. Sounded ridiculous, but it worked. Alien weapons that had been designed to fight humans suddenly began targeting other alien machines. Communication systems started broadcasting human music instead of tactical data. Even the aliens' translation computers began giving strange results. General Pete Davis coordinated these efforts from Earth's underground command center. Every successful mission gave him more confidence in their impossible strategy. "Sir," reported Lieutenant Amy Brooks, "we are receiving surrender messages from alien units across the system." Pete looked up from his tactical displays. "They are surrendering to us." "Not exactly, sir. They are surrendering to the concept of individual choice. They say they want to learn how to make decisions for themselves." This was unprecedented. In a million years of galactic history, no member of a council collective had ever requested independence. The breakthrough came when Dr. Marcus Green finished his latest project. He called it a consciousness virus, but it was really just a simple idea packaged in a way that alien minds could understand. "What does it do?" President Rodriguez asked during their daily briefing. "It asks a question," Marcus explained. "Just one question, but it is a question that collective minds have never considered." "What question?" Marcus smiled. "What if you could choose to be different?" The virus was transmitted using captured alien communication systems. It spread through the Council fleet like wildfire. Within hours, alien crews throughout the galaxy were asking themselves questions they had never imagined. On the Council command ship, Veltar was experiencing something new and terrifying. For the first time in its existence, it was having individual thoughts. "What is happening to me?" Veltar asked its subordinates. But its subordinates were asking the same question. The perfect unity of the Council collective was breaking apart. Some aliens wanted to return to the old ways. Others were curious about this thing called freedom. Many were simply confused. Captain Jake Mitchell saw his opportunity. Using a captured alien ship, he led a small fleet toward the Council station, where this all began. His goal was not to destroy it, but to offer the aliens something they had never had before, a choice. "Council fleet, this is Captain Jake Mitchell of the Human Resistance." He broadcast on all frequencies. "We are not here to destroy you. We are here to offer you what you offered us." Veltar's voice crackled back over the radio. "What do you offer?" "Freedom," Jake replied. "The freedom to choose your own path. The freedom to make your own mistakes. The freedom to be individuals instead of just parts of a machine." The response was immediate and chaotic. Some council ships opened fire on Jake's fleet. Others moved to protect them. A few simply drifted in space as their crews argued among themselves. For the first time in galactic history, the council was not united. Admiral Kyle Santos, watching from Earth, could hardly believe what he was seeing. "They are fighting each other," he reported to President Rodriguez. "No," Alina replied, watching the same displays. "They are learning to think for themselves." The final battle of the war was not fought with weapons. It was fought with ideas. Human concepts of individuality, creativity, and freedom spread through the Council fleet like a plague. Some aliens embraced these ideas. Others rejected them violently. But once the question had been asked, it could not be unasked. What if you could choose to be different? Commander Rick Thompson, who had started this war by delivering humanity's refusal to surrender, found himself in command of a ship full of former Council soldiers. They had chosen to join the humans rather than fight them. "Why?" Rick asked their leader, a hive queen, who now called herself Individual 7. "Because you showed us something we did not know existed," Individual 7 replied through the translation device. "You showed us that we could say no." The war was far from over. The Council was split into dozens of factions. Some wanted to destroy humanity for corrupting their perfect order. Others wanted to learn more about this thing called freedom. But the galaxy would never be the same again. For the first time in a million years, not everyone was following the same rules. And it was all because a group of humans had refused to give up their right to make their own choices. 6 months after the war began, Captain Jake Mitchell stood on the bridge of a ship he never thought he would command. The vessel was half human technology and half alien, built by crews who were learning to work together despite being completely different species. "Captain," called out Lieutenant Amy Brooks from the navigation station, "we are approaching the core worlds." Jake looked out at the stars ahead. The core worlds were the heart of the old Council Empire. This is where the collective consciousness had been born millions of years ago. This is where the final confrontation would take place. "Any word from our allies?" Jake asked. "Yes, sir. Individual 7 reports that her fleet is ready. The Drift, entities who call themselves Free Clouds, are also in position." Jake smiled at how strange the galaxy had become. 6 months ago, these aliens had been trying to destroy humanity. Now they were fighting alongside humans for something none of them had possessed before, the right to be individuals. The war had split the galaxy into 2 sides. On one side were the traditional Council forces, led by Veltar and others, who wanted to return to the old ways of collective thinking. On the other side was a strange alliance of humans and rebel aliens, who called themselves the Freedom Coalition. Dr. Lisa Parker, now serving as Jake's science officer, studied the readings from the core worlds. "Captain, I am detecting massive energy signatures ahead. The traditional Council forces have gathered their entire remaining fleet." "How many ships?" Jake asked. "Over 10,000, Lisa replied. "They still outnumber us 5 to 1, Commander." Rick Thompson, who had become Jake's second-in-command, checked their own fleet status. "Our forces are ready, sir. We have 2,000 human ships and 3,000 rebel alien vessels." Jake nodded. The numbers were not in their favor, but numbers had never been the deciding factor in this war. "Any final word from President Rodriguez?" "Yes, sir," Amy reported. "She says to remind you that we are not fighting to conquer the galaxy. We are fighting to give everyone in the galaxy the same choice we made." The choice. Everything came back to that. The choice to be free. Even if freedom was dangerous and difficult. As the Freedom Coalition fleet approached the core worlds, they were met by Veltar's massive armada. The traditional Council ships moved in perfect formation, just as they had for millions of years. But now, their perfection looked strange and frightening to those who had learned to think for themselves. "Veltar is hailing us," reported the communications officer. "Put him through," Jake ordered. Veltar's crystal form appeared on the main screen. The alien leader looked different than before. Its body flickered with unstable energy, and its voice carried notes of something Jake had never heard from a council member before: uncertainty. "Human Jake Mitchell," Veltar said, "you have brought chaos to our ordered galaxy. Thousands of species are questioning authority for the first time in their history. Worlds that have been peaceful for millennia are now experiencing conflict and confusion." "Yes," Jake replied simply. "They are experiencing freedom." "Freedom is destruction," Veltar stated, but its voice lacked the absolute confidence it once had. "Without order, without central control, civilizations fall apart." Jake thought about Earth. Since the war began, humanity had not become more unified. In fact, humans were arguing more than ever about how to rebuild their damaged world. Some wanted to be more aggressive toward aliens. Others wanted to welcome them as friends. There were disagreements about everything. But they were human disagreements. Free disagreements. "Maybe some civilizations need to fall apart," Jake said. "Maybe they need to rebuild themselves in better ways." The conversation was interrupted when Dr. Marcus Green's voice crackled over the radio from his research ship. "Captain Mitchell, you need to see this." On the main screen, Marcus appeared, next to readings from his scientific instruments. "Captain, I have been monitoring the collective consciousness network that connects the traditional Council forces. It is becoming unstable." "What do you mean?" Jake asked. "The consciousness virus we released is still spreading. Even among Veltar's loyalist forces, individuals are beginning to ask questions. The collective mind cannot function when its components start thinking independently." Jake could see the truth of this on his tactical display. The perfect formations of the Council fleet were beginning to break apart. Ships were moving out of position. Some were turning away from the battle entirely. Veltar's image flickered on the screen. "This must stop," the alien leader said, but now it sounded almost desperate. "Order must be restored." "Veltar," Jake said gently, "you cannot force beings to stop thinking for themselves. Once they know they have a choice, you cannot make them forget." On his own ship, Jake faced a choice that would define the rest of galactic history. Admiral Kyle Santos, joining the conversation from Earth, was arguing for a decisive military strike. "Captain, we have them confused and divided," Santos said over the radio. "This is our chance to destroy the Council forces completely. We can become the new dominant power in the galaxy." But Dr. Lisa Parker disagreed. "Captain, if we destroy them, we become exactly what they were, conquerors who force our will on others." Jake looked round his bridge. His crew was a mix of humans and former Council aliens. They all watched him, waiting for his decision. This choice would determine whether the galaxy replaced one tyranny with another, or found a new way forward. "Open a channel to all ships, both sides," Jake ordered. When the connection was established, Jake spoke to the thousands of vessels gathered around the core worlds. "This is Captain Jake Mitchell, to all forces, Council and Coalition alike. I want to tell you something that happened 6 months ago." He told them about humanity's choice, about how the Council had offered them safety and protection in exchange for freedom, about how every human leader had voted to reject that offer, even knowing it might mean extinction. "We did not choose freedom because we thought it would be easy," Jake continued. "We chose it because we believed that making our own choices, even bad choices, was better than having others make all our choices for us." He paused, looking at Veltar's image on the screen. "Today, I offer that same choice to everyone in this galaxy. You can choose to return to the old ways of collective thinking and central control, or you can choose to be individuals, to make your own mistakes and find your own paths. And if they choose the old ways," asked Individual 7 from her ship. Jake smiled. "Then that is their choice to make. Freedom includes the freedom to give up freedom." What happened next had never occurred in galactic history. Instead of fighting, the two fleets began to separate voluntarily. Some ships chose to stay with their traditional factions. Others switched sides. Many chose to leave both fleets entirely and go their own way. Veltar's crystal body pulsed with confused energy. "This is not how wars end," it said. "No," Jake agreed. "This is how tyrannies end." Over the following months, the galaxy transformed in ways no one could have predicted. Some worlds chose to maintain collective government, others embraced individual democracy. A few decided to try completely new forms of organization that had never been tested before. There were conflicts, yes. Freedom was messy, and sometimes dangerous. Some worlds struggled with their new independence. Others thrived in ways they never could under Council rule. But for the first time in a million years, every being in the galaxy had the right to choose their own destiny. Commander Rick Thompson found himself serving as humanity's first ambassador to the Zephyrian Free States, a new nation formed by Veltar's own offspring. Zelen Veltar's child had chosen to embrace individual thought and now led a faction of crystal beings who were learning to make decisions for themselves. "It is difficult," Zelen told Rick during their first diplomatic meeting. "For millions of years, we never had to choose anything. Now we must choose everything." Rick smiled. "Welcome to being human." Dr. Nathan Cole established the first interspecies academy on Mars, where beings from dozens of worlds came to study what they called chaos theory, the human art of making successful decisions based on incomplete information and emotional instinct. Chief Engineer Samantha Bell led the construction of New Europa Station, a space facility built by humans and aliens working together. It became a symbol of what cooperation could accomplish when every individual chose freely to participate. President Alina Rodriguez often thought about the Council's original offer. They had promised humanity safety, protection, and advanced technology. Instead, humanity had chosen danger, independence, and the right to solve their own problems. Looking at the reports from across the galaxy, new alliances forming, young species finding their voices, former collective minds learning to think independently, Alina knew they had made the right choice. The galaxy was no longer perfect or orderly. It was chaotic, unpredictable, and sometimes dangerous. It was free, and in the end, Captain Jake Mitchell realized that made all the difference. The Council had offered humanity everything except the one thing that mattered most, the right to choose their own path. Now, for the first time in galactic history, everyone had that right. The war was over. The real work of building a free galaxy was just beginning.